Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing God of War 3 Remastered on Chaos difficulty, and this is my Pain Plus guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Installment the 7th, and this is the Hades boss fight. This is a very difficult fight, and I wanted to let you know that with the exception of this first part where I strung together some footage to make the transition from the beginning, so it wasn't a little bit less jarring. It's all from the same take, but once we get to the second part where you hit the flesh and you have to destroy the flesh, I did fail to that twice, but I preserved no damage the entire fight. And so what I did was I thought, well, what purpose is there in having me show two fails in the same fight of me just not destroying the flesh in time? It would make the video too long, and it's just not necessary to show people how to do this situation. So at the beginning, there's really nothing much to talk about. After this first part, he's going to go up to the top of the area, and he does this twice. And your best place to stay by him is right to his right. And whenever he does his chain whipping like this, you have to block that because it can hit you even from up here. Whenever he does his horizontal swings, these ones here, you don't want to get too wild with your attacks, because if you get pushed too forward, then you can get hit by those. Those are unblockable attacks, the horizontal swipes. So what I like to do is on the horizontal swipes, just do square, square, triangle, because those are fairly mild attacks that won't put me in danger. And then whenever he does his chain whipping, I guard against it until it's all done, and then I usually will go for the super plume. Notice when he tries to grab you, you don't have to roll away. You only have to roll away if you can't get enough startup time to escape his admittedly slow grab. But here's the first part. So this is that first sequence here was one sequence, and then everything from this point forward is another fight. But it's all done no damage. So you have a choice at the beginning of this. You can roll to the piece of flesh and then start hitting it, or you can clear a path and then start in your super plume. I was rolling first, but I found out that, I just found that clearing a path is more beneficial, because then when you come to a stop, if you come to a stop from a roll, say you roll at the beginning, there's a good chance that you're going to get hit. So I like to clear a path that way and then destroy the piece of flesh. Now this is a hard sequence, but once you know the timing and when to dodge, it doesn't have too much of a problem, hopefully for you. He's going to hit twice. He's always going to follow that up with this. After the first chain gets dug into the ground, you want to roll behind him so that you should have enough time to do at least square, square, triangle on him. The super plume is a little riskier because of the large amount of time it takes for that to happen. But I would say that if you are on top of him and get behind him immediately, the super plume should work out for you, but you don't want to get caught in a position where you don't have any time to recover from that move. So again, he also has a stomp from earlier too. And one of the things too that he has that I'm like, god damn this game when I figured it out, is when he tries to do that soul grab with you. If you even partake in that, you take damage. So I don't think he tried to do it on me this time, but if you see him doing that fucking move, dodge out of the way, because you don't want to get hit by it. It's either you take damage, you roll from it, or you fail to do the quick time event, in which case you get killed instantly. So I think that's one of the things that I disagree with the most out of any decisions in these games, when they do that kind of nonsense. And he's got a lot of life here, so you need to be hitting him with heavy attacks. Even if you roll behind him and just do heavy, light, heavy, consider yourself making good progress. Okay, so now he's going to go up here and do his second barrage of these attacks. He is going to cast these skeleton heads at you. The thing about the skeleton heads is that you need to block them, but while you block them, if you see him attempting a grab, you need to roll away to the right. That will prevent you from getting grabbed, and the skulls will time out. So it's not the end of the world if that happens. If it happens over here, I'll show you. He's got 3 chain whip swings right now, so sometimes he just loves to spam this whole skeleton head nonsense. But see, I'm blocking. See what I had to do? I had to roll away from him because he would have grabbed me. The grab doesn't take away much, but I was intolerant of any damage over here, so I decided I better not make a mistake anywhere. So these sections are over here aren't too tough. It gives you an illusion that you're invincible, but it's just a pseudo safe spot. It's just that. So don't get any airs in your mind like you can't get hit up here, because you definitely can. Okay, so then there will be the second flesh hitting section after this, and if you want to roll and then start hitting, that's your own prerogative. But I did find that I more consistently was able to avoid damage if I started to attack the arms like in the direction of the piece of flesh first. That is a downside of not being able to put damage on the flesh immediately, and this flesh has a lot of damage, both of them do. But I did fail twice to this flesh hitting section over here, not to take damage. It wasn't that, it was just he got the flesh back before I could destroy it, and I lost progress. I had to do this section over again, and I think the flesh loses a little bit of its HP, but I'm not sure, because sometimes it felt that way to me, but sometimes it didn't feel that way at all. So, but I wanted to reinforce the fact that this is a conglomeration of like 2 clips, but I wrestled with it internally, and I finally resolved that this was a great representation of this boss, because it's while it, you see, the problem about it is you can fail. So I don't want to have any failure sessions in my session with him, but it's so difficult for everything to go right that taking a few failure sessions out of the fight was a good enough concession for me. Yeah, this guy is just whoring that was very lucky right there. Did you see that? He's just whoring this move for all it's worth. And you have to be very, very careful that you don't parry these, because that would be a fail too. That would be a transgression violation, and then you would have to start over. I mean, you have to be extremely careful about that. So we should be getting to this next section. So what you're going to see is that would have been my 3rd attempt at doing this flesh hitting section. Yeah, he's definitely not letting up with his skull move. But did you see how you could just walk to the right when he starts to grab? Anyway, so here's the next session right over here. And I find these sections just really bizarre that these are in here. I wish they weren't in here. But the Hades arms, they can and will start to stagger you and hit you. They can even grab you too. But the problem about it is just, it's, the more I did this, the less I had the opinion of that it was just luck based. But it's still, I don't think it should be in the fight anyway. Okay, now you've got unblockable spike attacks coming up from the floor. What I do is, when the floor starts turning purple, I start in with my super plume, and you have to be moving away from the spikes and then land your super plume. I believe you can do 2 super plumes. Never do the square triangle, because that doesn't have enough momentum to keep you safe. Some hairy times come when you're blocking the dogs. I mean, he summons dogs of all the mongrels for some reason. I don't understand why, but you block these, and then before they stop, he's already starting in with the magic attack on the floor. Also, when he's raising his weapon to cast those dogs, that's an attack that you can get hit by, so be very careful. The magic underneath him does not damage you. You can stand on it, you can make contact with him, it doesn't damage you. You just need to make sure that the unblockable doesn't hit you. And again, summoning dogs here, I don't even think you can parry them and make them go away. So all you do is just block them. But he doesn't have too much life here. But notice I'm pretty close to the top. I had to back off a little bit. But there will always be time enough for the last dog to get blocked by you before the chains start coming up from the floor. It may seem like a close call at sometimes, but you always have enough time. That's why there's a little delay before they start up. And then land that super plume. I messed up right there. It did the Valor for me on accident. There was 2 separate times where I went through this entire fight. Did not get damaged, did not fail to the flesh hitting sequences, but I got hit here on the last phase before you get a checkpoint, and it was just heartbreaking. But you get so nervous that the nervousness becomes an enemy too. But fortunately he's gone. Now we're doing this. Now we'll be doing the awkward part of it, and we can have a little bit of downtime as we talk shop and then work with this guy. So the moves here, his horizontal rope swings, those can be blocked. So just block. You might not think you can block holding this, but you can block. So you can either iframe roll through the horizontal swings, or you can block. His overhead attacks range from 1 to 3. So it'll just be random. This right here, it'll just be 1, 2, or 3, depending on the whim of the game. And those need to be rolled away from. And if you don't time it properly, you will get damaged. There's also an attack with circle, but I don't think that does much damage, if any. It could, for all I know, but it doesn't seem like it to me. There's also a way of staying very close to the edge of the water and hitting him just enough so that when he tries to attack you, you're falling in here, and this sequence here interrupts his would-be attacks, and then you could perpetually loop that if you could do it. But I don't like to do that. I know of it. It's a decent strategy. It's actually quite it's something you'll probably find out just by accident by playing this guy. But I don't like to. I just don't like to do it, and I didn't want to have it on my walkthrough. But I think that this part should not be in the fight. I also think those flesh hitting sections should not be in the fight. They're too irreverent. They're just too dumb. And then you do this. Fortunately, the O button stays over him for a long time because it allowed me to pull myself out of the water and get him. Now, on this next part, it's basically ram warring, because if you don't want to take damage, that's going to be your best bet. So you can either just grab and rend, circle triangle, or you can do a combination, ram warring and rending. But using this weapon's slow, and I just don't care for it too much. So they'll spawn once you approach the edge of the water. There aren't too many of them, and then you need to be careful because you don't have a checkpoint yet. So if you are trying to do this no damage and you get hit, you'll get thrown back to the that weirdness that we just did a moment ago. So he's gonna burst up. he has no attack that you can block or parry at this point. So what you need to be doing is grabbing onto the grip points every chance you get, because those will keep you safe and keep you at his back. But you don't always have those come up, and it's not always possible to be at his back. So you can do score triangle. It's not a published move on the moves list. You can do triangle triangle triangle. So that's what I'm doing pretty much exclusively, I believe. That's all I'm doing, triangle times 3. And if you can just keep doing that, keep doing the grip points, keep them circling, keep them, looking for you, and avoiding his slaps, you should be good. But that is, god damn, that fight. That is a really hard fight. I mean, aside from the no damage too, it's a very difficult first boss. I got through it with what I wanted to do, and I guess you could say that I was sort of a lucky devil in that respect. But I will see you in the next installment. This has been the Hades boss fight, and as we continue on our walkthrough, I would ask that you could please take care.